We have all seen them. You get home from a vacational, flip through your camera roll, and notice a complete stranger walking through the background of your perfect family portrait. It is a harmless accident, a brief intersection of two lives that will never meet again. But when Emily Johnson looked through hundreds of photos from her family trip, she noticed something specific. Far behind them, standing perfectly still, was a tall man in a black suit. No one remembered seeing him at the landmark. They assumed he was just another tourist who had wandered into the frame. A week later, visiting her grandmother and flipping through a dusty album, Emily froze. There, in a photograph taken in 1987, was the exact same man. He wore the same black suit and held the same expression. He had not aged a single day in over 3 decades. Emily pointed him out, expecting confusion. Instead, her grandmother slammed the album shut. She admitted she had seen him before, but she flatly refused to say another word. Her terror confirmed that this figure was a recognized, deeply suppressed presence that had been hiding in their family records for generations. Emily began searching through online archives, historical databases, and old newspaper scans. The man appeared everywhere. She found him in the back of high school graduation photos, wedding ceremonies, disaster zones, and even early police crime scene photography. The oldest verifiable picture she located dated back to 1912. This line graph plots every appearance of the figure over the last century. Notice the lack of variance. His physical traits and his distance from the camera lens never fluctuate. Whether the photo was taken on a Kodak Brownie or a modern smartphone, he remains anchored in the deep background. When Emily posted her findings online, the dataset expanded. This global map shows the reports that flooded in from thousands of other people. The entity was appearing in family photos across different countries and continents simultaneously, with the frequency of sightings increasing as cameras became more common. For over 100 years, the entity remained a passive constant. It was a localized anomaly that stayed hidden in the extreme background of global history, never interacting with the world it observed. The distance between Emily and the entity suddenly collapsed. New photographs began appearing on her phone that she had never taken. They showed her sleeping, walking to work, and shopping alone. He was no longer a historical curiosity. He was following her. Emily went to the police, who reviewed CCTV footage from streets where she had been photographed. They tracked her movement across several cameras to identify the person following her. The footage shows Emily walking alone, while still photos on her phone showed the man standing inches away. The space behind her is entirely empty. This diagram illustrates the photographic exclusion principle. The entity does not exist in three-dimensional physical space or continuous video. It manifests only when the world is flattened into a 2D rectangular photograph. It exists solely within the captured fraction of a second. This mechanic makes the entity an unstoppable stalker. Physical barriers are irrelevant because he doesn't occupy the room with you. He occupies the hardware of the camera sensor. The silence of Emily's house was broken late one night by a sound from the yard, the distinct mechanical click of a camera shutter outside her bedroom window. She rushed outside into the empty yard. There was no physical intruder and no footprints, but she found a freshly printed photograph lying on the ground. The picture showed Emily exactly as she stood in that moment, looking down at the ground. In the frame, the man in the black suit was looming directly over her shoulder, and for the first time, he was smiling widely. He had broken his own rules. The physical distance had been reduced to 0, and the static expression he had held for a century was gone. The transition was complete. The entity had moved from a passive observer in the margins of history to an active threat in Emily's immediate life. Emily moved to another city, changed her phone number, and deleted every digital photo she owned. She was systematically removing every camera and screen that the entity used as an access point. Months passed in peace. Then, while walking through a park, a tourist family asked Emily if she would take their picture. She agreed, snapped the photo, and handed the camera back. A moment later, the family's young son ran back to her. He held up the camera and asked who the man was standing directly behind her in the photo she had just taken. Forensic experts later examined the file and found no evidence of digital tampering or AI generation. The image was a clean, unaltered capture. Personal precautions are useless in a world where you are constantly surrounded by other people's lenses. You are always being captured by someone's hardware. This is no longer just Emily's story. Thousands of people are discovering the same figure looming in their own private family archives, hidden in the background of birthdays, holidays, and quiet moments. Skeptics dismiss these sightings as pareidolia, the mind seeing faces in random patterns, or simple artifacts of old film grain. But look at what happens when you zoom in on these historical files. As the pixels enlarge, the man's eyes subtly track and shift direction. He is no longer staring at the scene or the people in the photo. His gaze has shifted to look directly at the person currently viewing the image. Taking a photograph creates a two-way window. The entity is waiting in the background of your memories for the exact moment you notice him, and now he sees you.